as he will see Logan Stieber. And a freshman against a senior. The baby-faced assassin, Randy Cruz from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Bethlehem Catholic right outside of Lehigh. He stayed home. Brian Owen from the state of Washington. And Brian Owen's brother, Tommy Owen, the assistant coach at George Mason University. Owen with a sweet leg tattoo, goes all the way up. I've seen sleeves, never seen leg sleeves. We have today. And we have a seatbelt position for Brian Owen. Nice whizzer position for Cruz. And Brian Owen, Randy Cruz back to the center. Again, two unseeded wrestlers. Randy Cruz of Lehigh, 31-10 on the year as a true freshman. Brian Owen of Boise State, 14-7. This, I believe, is Brian's third trip here to the NCAAs. Has had an injury-plagued 2012-2013, but is very dangerous. And Owen, and again, but Randy Cruz is dangerous here with this whizzer position. He's pretty long, pretty funky. Got that little whizzer kick position as Brian Owen rests that ankle up on. And here we go. We're getting funky down here, mat number 2, between Cruz and Owen. Cruz typically wins these scrambles or gets a stalemate. Matt Swarczynski looking for what might be a takedown. But again, getting funky. Cruz comes through the middle. The winner of this position, the winner who can get some height. Let's see if Brian Owen can lock up a little side cradle here. He has a side cradle locked up. Cruz on his hip. No takedown as we're letting it settle here. And Santoro saying Peterson to Randy Cruz, and we're looking for a 2-point Peterson position. Oh, I think that's a pretty quick 2 by Matt Swarczynski after letting it settle for so long. He does give the 2 to Randy Cruz. Something good just happened. I wish I knew. And Brian Owen looks at his coach and says, how was that a takedown? I don't know, bro. Greg Randall, the head coach of Boise State, and Chris Owens and Dave Bennett, Doc Bennett in the corner for the Bronx of Boise State. Lehigh again coached by Pat Santoro. Also in the corner is Drew Headley, who wrestled for Pittsburgh. And Cruz puts the boots in. Brian Owen reaches back to the head, and Cruz locks up a side cradle. Owen very strong in this position, but Cruz very funky, and he's got a cradle locked up, and we're counting back points. As a coach, you teach a kid not to reach back when the legs are in. Owen does reach back, and Cruz takes advantage of it with a side cradle. 5 seconds to go in period 1. We are looking for a fall for Cruz. And 5-0, we go to our second period. And let's move to period number 2. Cruz defers. Brian Owen goes back down. And Brian Owen from Spokane, Washington. He's a redshirt senior. He was second in the Pac-12 this year. Randy Cruz, a freshman from Allentown, PA. He won the EIWA, and again, with his merits of 31 wins on the year. Cruz goes back into a leg position. Very tough with his long body using his legs. Got a little reverse wrist. We're counting back points again. Back is 4 inches from the mat, and another 2 set of backs for Randy Cruz. Long arms, goes back to the cradle, does Randy Cruz, and we are counting back points. Looking for the fall for Randy Cruz, the freshman stud. Bethlehem Catholic High School in Allentown, Pennsylvania, or Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Brian Owen. Another 3 near fall for Randy Cruz. Cruz is a limber guy up on top. He's got a leg figure forward up. Drew Headley telling Randy Cruz, work on keeping your hips up in this situation with the legs. Cruz just a hammer on top. He has 2 minutes of 53 seconds of riding time. Cruz goes and chooses top, up 10-0. He chooses top. He put all 4 fingers. He showed top. And he's being a hammer. Injury time for Brian Owen. He has been plagued with injuries throughout his career. How long do you think it takes for Randy Cruz to put those boots back in on top? Injury time here. I think they might wind it all the way down. Coach Headley and Coach Santoro rubbing out the arms of Randy Cruz. Cruz just a freshman, but a stud as a freshman. And we're going back to action, starting period 3. Brian Owen in the down position, Randy Cruz on top. I think much of that timeout was about his shoulder, was getting his head, trying to get his head together. And the boots come back in for Randy Cruz. Riding those high legs. His hips are down on the mat, though. I think he's going to work to get his hips high as Brian Owen gets to sit up maybe catch his head. Cruz going to the cross wrist and elbow as well. Riding tough on top. Coach Santoro telling Randy Cruz, get your tilt, stay on top. Riding a tight figure four leg. He's actually back hooked on that back ankle, almost an illegal hold. Double boots in for Randy Cruz, and he looks to extend Brian Owen to his belly. And Brian Owen warned for stalling on the bottom as Randy Cruz is just being a hammer on top, underneath both arms, got both legs in, extending Brian Owens, putting his face on the mat. It's 10 seconds to go in regulation. Cruz with a 10-0 lead. And that is the match at a point for advantage time. Your winner with an 11-0 major decision from Lehigh is Randy Cruz.